Hello, and thank you for watching. My name is Bradford Roberts, Principal Broker, Founder, and Owner of TR Realty in the Las Vegas area. After watching this video, please be sure to like it as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel. Download the pertinent handouts for this video by clicking the link in the comments below. Now let's get started. What is a short sale package? It is a bundle of information required for the lender to consider your short sale to be approved. And it consists of many different documents that we're going to be getting into in this segment. And the short sale package should be prepared, or you should start preparing it right after taking the listing. There are components that you can gather from the beginning and start building that short sale package as you progress, and we'll be getting into those details as well. A lot of the documents that we use in a short sale situation have a shelf life of 90 days. Now that can vary by lender, but keep in mind that since short sales typically take many months to accomplish, often you do have to update those same documents due to that shelf life. Some lenders require a complete short sale package to be submitted to them not less than 15 days before an auction date in order to consider postponing the sale, but may make an exception to that for a cash contract. In other words, some short sale lenders will not accept a short sale package that is too close to the auction date. In years gone by, there have been instances, not in our company, of course, where some listing agents in short sale situations put together fraudulent short sale packages as a way to stave off foreclosure, as a way to get that auction date postponed. So lenders responded by not allowing short sale packages to be submitted too close to the actual auction date. Now, in some cases, you might be able to stop a foreclosure auction in as little as 3 to 5 business days, but that takes a lot of expertise, and in circumstances like that, I really recommend that you come to your broker and ask for assistance. When you submit a short sale package to a lender, submit a complete package the first time. Don't submit it piece by piece. Incomplete packages get thrown away. Parts of it get misplaced somehow. Keep in mind that the average negotiator or asset manager, depending on what the bank calls them, the average person, typical person, is working on about 150 short sale files at a time. And they might not take the time to contact you for missing information. Imagine if you had 150 listings at the same time, how busy you would be, how easy it would be to conflagrate one file with another. It would be pretty difficult. So we want to get that package complete. We want to get it submitted all in one shot to the lender. In short sales where there's more than one lender, I want to share a little strategy with you. I think it's smart that we submit our short sale package to our first lender first, and then wait about a week or two before submitting the short sale package to the second lender. See, we need cooperation from that first lender. And if we don't get cooperation from the first lender, who's obviously in first position, right, then the second lender doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we get approval from that second lender because it's not going to carry any water for us. We need that approval from that first lender. So we do the first, we wait a little while, and then we submit the short sale package to that second lender. There are cases where the first lien holder wants to see approval from the second. There are cases where the second lien holder wants to see approval from the first. Sometimes it's like whack-a-mole. And just for the record, the lenders will not communicate with each other. If you think that you can get them both on the phone to work something out, it's not going to happen. They're not going to do it as a business practice, but also keep in mind that one can't talk to the other because there's no third-party authorization to do so. So you're going to have to work it out as the agent. You're going to have to be firm, be strong with the lenders, and that's why my strategy: submit the first, the second a little bit later, and then work those two lenders off of each other. Some lenders want the short sale package to be submitted by fax. Some of them want it submitted by email. It's just up to that individual lender to make that decision. But if you submit it by fax, you must put the loan number on the top of every page. And, a short sale package could be 100 pages. So you've got to get that loan number on the top of every single page. And if you submit it by email, you have to put the loan number in the subject line. The name of the borrower doesn't matter. The property address doesn't matter. What lenders are looking for is that loan number to be in the subject line. And if the bank offers a choice, you can submit it by fax or you can submit it by email. The smart thing to do is to submit it both ways. When you are submitting documents to a person's email, and when I say a person's email, I mean as opposed to some lenders and at some stages of the transaction where you're actually sending it to a generic department, such as, short sales at lendera.com, that sort of thing. So when you're actually sending it to a person's email, it is also a really smart idea to send those documents to the generic email as well, or the main fax number as well. And let me tell you why. Because at some point, your file is going to get assigned to a person. You're going to go from a department to an actual person. And when it's assigned to a person, if that person goes on vacation, if that person is sick, if that person is on maternity leave, which is something that happened on one of my short sales a few years ago, where a file was actually assigned to a negotiator who went on maternity leave just 2 days later and was gone for 60 days. We need someone else to be able to access the file. So if you send the short sale package and subsequent documents to a generic email, to a generic fax number, then you could get a coworker involved, you could get a supervisor or a manager involved in the file. But if you just send everything to a person's email, if that person is unavailable, your stuff is going to sit there because no one can access that email account, right? So that's why I'm saying it's also a good idea to send them to the main fax or the department email in case your particular negotiator is just not available. Okay, so what we're going to get into now, this is a bit complicated, and if you haven't been taking notes so far, you definitely need to start taking notes right now, because I'm about to get into two separate lists, and I'll tell you why there's two, but two separate lists of documents that are used in short sales, okay? These are lengthy lists. Chances are I'm about to get into a lot of names and acronyms that you haven't heard before. So this can be a bit complicated. The reason there's two lists that I'm giving you is because the first list is for frequently used documents, and the second list is for documents that are less frequently used. So I've broken this up into two lists. So let us get started right now with the most frequently used documents in a short sale package, okay? You got your pen, got your paper, are you ready to go? All right, here it is. So item number one, most frequently used documents in a short sale package list. Item number one is a cover letter that includes a table of contents. So if you remember back to junior high school, if you did a book report or something, you had a table of contents. So the table of contents lists all of the components of that short sale package. Remember, this could be dozens and dozens or 100 pages or more. So for easy reference, rather than have the negotiator scan through 100 pages looking for something, we do a cover letter with a table of contents that includes all of the documents in your short sale package. Document number two is your third-party authorization for the lender to talk to the agent and release information on that account. We've already talked about third-party authorization letters in this video series, and just for a point of reference, you often see a third-party authorization letter abbreviated with the digit 3 and then the letters PA, 3PA. That stands for third-party authorization. And earlier in this video series, I told you that you need to send it in right away. And if you listen to me, you might be thinking, well, why is Brad putting it on this list right now? I've already sent it. I get that, but we need to make it part of the short sale package, so we are literally sending the same thing again. That is number 2. The number 3 document that is frequently used in a short sale is to include a recent mortgage statement. So we're talking about the mortgage statement that your homeowner gets in the mail every month, or now a lot of them are getting it by email or through an app. So yes, we are literally taking the mortgage statement that the lender sent us, and we are sending it back to them as part of the short sale package. Often there's a QR code, there's a barcode, there's encoding of some sort in that statement. I'm not sure why lenders want us to do this, but we do need to include a recent mortgage statement as part of our short sale package. Item number 4 on the list is known as a hardship letter. And we're going to come back later and get into some more details about this, but the hardship letter is something that must be written by the homeowner. It must not be written by the agent ever. And we don't care about spelling, we don't care about grammar, we don't care about punctuation. This thing could be written with lipstick on a cocktail napkin, okay? It doesn't matter, but it needs to come from the homeowner. It needs to be short and sweet, not threatening, not bullying, and it needs to explain the circumstances. And very importantly, in a hardship letter, we need to ask for the short sale. Because remember that a short sale is optional, okay? The bank does not have to do it. They don't have to cooperate. So the hardship letter explains a little bit why we are behind or about to fall behind, a little bit about the circumstances, and then it asks for the short sale. Item number 5 on the list is known as a FWS, which stands for Financial Worksheet. So some lenders will have a template on their website. Some of them may email it to you. Some of them just tell you to make something up. And again, we're not looking for, artwork that's going to hang in the Louvre here. It can just be something that somebody draws up on a piece of paper. The financial worksheet is very simply an itemization of income and expenses. So obviously, if the financial worksheet shows that the homeowner has enough money to make that mortgage payment, then that's a problem, right? That's probably going to be a major impediment to us doing a short sale. The financial worksheet is not a place where the lender can judge how somebody's spending their money. That stuff is not open to discussion or debate in any way, so it needs to be accurate. If you spend $1,800 a month on dry cleaning your socks, that might not be very responsible, but that's where the money's going. So again, it is not a way for them to judge how you're spending your money. It is supposed to paint an accurate picture of the money you have coming into the household and the money you have going out. If you're spending $400 on your cable bill and you're spending $900 a month on your cell phone, whatever, then that needs to be in that hardship letter. And in that financial worksheet. And I'm assuming that when you net out the financial worksheet, there will not be enough money left over to make that mortgage payment, right? And that's why you're asking for a short sale. Item number 6 on my list is bank statements. It varies by lender, but most lenders will ask you for either 2 or 3 months of bank statements. Obviously, those need to be the most current bank statements, and they need to be for every account. There are some exceptions to the accounts that we are required by federal law to provide, and we're going to be getting to that later. But for right now, I just want you to think about bank statements for every checking account, every savings account, for all of the borrowers named on the loan. Those need to be provided, and if you want a gold star, you'll actually have the homeowners sign those bank statements as well. Item number 7 on my list is pay stubs. If the homeowner is working If the homeowners are working, we would provide pay stubs for each person who is contributing to the household income. Again, it varies by lender, but typically they're asking for 2 or 3 of the most recent pay stubs. And if your homeowner is not working, then we would provide a termination letter or a layoff letter or a furlough letter or a medical letter or something like that that shows why they're not currently working in lieu of those pay stubs. Number 8 on my list would be tax returns. Again, it varies by lender, but most lenders are going to ask for 2 years, possibly 3 years of the most recently filed tax returns. Now, if they haven't filed the current tax return, then we would want to show a request for an extension. And again, Gold Star would be for having those signed. All of the stuff that we've talked about so far, the bank statements, the pay stubs, the tax returns, it would always be better to have those signed before you submit them. Number 9 on my list of most frequently used documents in a short sale would be comps, comparable sales. Now, I love when a lender asks me to do comps, because what that often tells me is that the lender is not going to spend the money to hire some agent to do a BPO, a broker price opinion. So if a lender is asking me as the listing agent to do comps, rest assured that when I go into MLS, I'm going to select the comps that best justify the offer or the listing price that I have on the table. Everybody knows that there's a lot of comps. We can go back in time, we can increase our geographical distance if we wish, and we can kind of sort of choose the comps that we want. So when a lender asks for that, that's really a good thing. Number 10 on my list is known as cost of repairs. So cost of repairs is something that we could write on a piece of paper. There's no form, there's no format, there's no standard way to do it. But what we are indicating here is any deficiencies on the property. I want you to remember that the bank is going to look at the hardship. They're going to look at the financial ramifications of granting a short sale versus doing a foreclosure or a deed in lieu or a loan modification. And if the house needs a lot of repairs, okay, if there's a hole in the roof and the AC is not working well and the hot water heater is not getting hot, etc., the bank probably is less desirous of taking ownership of that property through a foreclosure, right? Because if they foreclose on the property instead of granting a short sale, now all of those things are their headache. Those deficiencies are going to incur costs or lower the sale price in an REO situation, right? So if there's something wrong with the house, we want to make sure that we provide a cost of repairs. Very few lenders will even ask you for estimates of those repairs. A lot of them will just accept what you say. So if you do a cost of repairs and you say, as an example, house needs to be re-roofed, estimated cost $18,000. House needs a new air conditioning system, estimated cost $7,000. Those things are going to send a message to the bank that the house is not in good shape, and that would make the bank a bit more likely to choose a short sale and maybe to even select the offer that you have on the table rather than push too hard, result in foreclosure, and now the bank is going to incur those cost of repairs. Item number 11 on my list would be an MLS report. Yep, literally going into MLS and generating a full report. And I understand that it is a violation of LVR policy to provide a full detailed report. However, this is the only kind of report that the lender will accept. They want to see the commission. They want to see the days on market. They want to see the comments that you've made. Often they want to see that full detailed report, and you have to send it. Item number 12 on my list is the listing agreement, what we refer to as the ER. with the short sale addendum, so the SSALA. So the listing agreement with the short sale addendum to the listing agreement. And obviously, you have watched my Class 4 video series, and you know in a short sale situation that a short sale addendum to the listing agreement is required whenever you list a short sale. The bank wants to see that. Item 13 on my list is known as a relationship disclosure. Now, before you start to search Transaction Desk and look for a relationship disclosure, please know that in Nevada, we refer to that as a duties owed. The reason the bank calls it a relationship disclosure is because it's called different things in different states. So it's a duties owed here, and in the slot where they ask for a relationship disclosure, we're simply going to provide our duties owed. Number 14 on my list is, if you have it at this point, is the actual purchase and sale agreement. We refer to that as an RPA, and attached to that RPA is an SSAPA, which stands for Short Sale Addendum to the Purchase Agreement, not to be confused with the Short Sale Addendum to the Listing Agreement. So the RPA with the SSAPA attached, Purchase and Sale Agreement with the Short Sale Addendum to the Purchase Agreement. And obviously, every time you effectuate a contract on a short sale, it must include that Short Sale Addendum to the Purchase Agreement. Item 15 on my list is the buyer's pre-approval letter, or VOF, verification of funds. So the bank wants to see that this is in fact a real buyer, that you're not making it up just as a way to stop a foreclosure. So if the buyer of the short sale is getting a mortgage, we would include their pre-approval letter from their lender. If the buyer is paying cash, we would attach a verification of funds, which could be a bank statement, it could be a letter from a CPA or from their attorney, but somehow a written statement that they have enough funds to close this transaction. Item 16 on my list, also as further evidence that the buyer is real, the lender wants to see a proof of the buyer's EMD deposit, their earnest money deposit. We should have this because when we effectuate a purchase and sale agreement on a short sale, which, as you well know by now, is a contract between the buyer and the seller, not between the bank and the seller, we are required to open escrow, we are required to deposit EMD, and we need proof of that deposit from the title company to submit here to the lender. And lastly, item 17 on my list of frequently used documents in a short sale is known as a preliminary settlement statement. Preliminary settlement statement, not to be confused with a preliminary title report. And a preliminary settlement statement is what we use instead of a net sheet, which is going to tell the lender after all the liens are paid, the junior liens are paid, after the real estate commission is paid, after the title company is paid, and other fees and expenses, what is that net payoff going to be? So as I told you earlier in this video series, once we effectuate a contract, we need to reach out to the title company, have them prepare a preliminary settlement statement for us so we know the net proceeds, and that would be item number 17 on my list. Now, as we've gone through this list of 17 frequently used documents in a short sale package, what I want you to keep in mind is that every lender is not going to ask you for every single thing that's on this list, okay? The lender can do what they want. In fact, even within some lenders, the short sale negotiators have the flexibility to ask you for what they want. Could be based on the type of loan. It could be based on the amount of anticipated deficiency. Could be based on their own preferences. But if you pay attention to this list and you prepare for this list, especially many of these things can be put together before you even have a buyer. So that's what I mean by preparing the package early. If you are prepared for all 17 of these items, you should be pretty well prepared for virtually every lender, virtually every circumstance that you can imagine. So let us move on to the second list, This is a list of less frequently used documents in a short sale package. Lots of new things here, so let us get started with this list. You may also come in contact, in addition to the 17 things in my first list, you may also come in contact with number 1, something known as a RASS, R-A-S-S, which stands for Request for Approval of a Short Sale. Or you may come in contact with something called an ARAS, which stands for Alternative Request for an Approval of a Short Sale. And these are documents that the lender will provide. These are not documents that you're going to find in Transaction Desk. Item number 2 on my less frequently requested list is known as a Dodd-Frank certification. That's DODD-FRANK, Dodd-Frank certification. The name of this form comes from 2 U.S. senators, ex-senators, I should say. That was Christopher Dodd from Connecticut and Barney Frank from Massachusetts. Dodd-Frank, this is part of the Dodd-Frank Act, which was an attempt to overhaul, oversee, and regulate Wall Street and lenders. We talked about that in my Class 2 video series as well. But for today's class, I want you to know about a Dodd-Frank certification, which is basically saying that the seller cannot have any real estate or mortgage-related crimes in the last 10 years, okay? So he's going to sign that Dodd-Frank certification, which says he's not been convicted of any of those types of crimes in the last 10 years. And if he has, in fact, then that's going to be that for your short sale. Number 3 on my less frequently requested list is known as an ATP, which stands for Approval to Participate. This is going to be used primarily in an FHA short sale situation. Number 4 on my list is known as an arm's length certification. An arm's length certification in a short sale is going to be signed by the seller and the buyer, and what they're going to attest to is the fact that they don't know each other. Hence the term arm's length. This is an arm's length transaction. And what's going on here is the lender trying to ascertain that the seller is not selling to a relative or a friend, and certainly not to his real estate agent, right? So that's known as an arm's length affidavit, they call it in some cases. Number 5 on the list is a no-flip affidavit. And as the name implies, no-flip affidavit, the buyer of this short sale cannot resell the property within a certain period of time, typically 90 days, but that can vary by lender. So what the lender is doing here is they're going to be taking a loss, right? By doing a short sale, they're taking a loss by definition, and they want to make sure that they're getting it right. They want to make sure that they're not leaving any profit on the table, that someone can buy a short sale at a quote-unquote discount and then turn around and resell that property for a profit within a short period of time. Number 6 on the list is known as an insurance letter. So let's talk about that a little bit. Under federal law, insurance companies cannot keep what's called unearned premium. So let's say, as an example, you buy a car and you get insurance on your car and you pay for 6 months or a year's worth of insurance. But before that term is up, you turn around and sell the car. Well, the insurance company is required by law to refund you the prorated balance on your insurance coverage. So let's say, as an example, that you have a house, you pay a year's worth of homeowner's insurance, and halfway through the year, you sell the house. Well, the insurance company must refund you 6 months worth of insurance. They haven't earned that premium, right? They are collecting money to cover you in the event of a loss, but now you don't own the house anymore, so they're not covering you. So they have to refund that difference. In a short sale situation, rather than the a prorated refund going to the homeowner, as it typically would when you sell your property, you're actually going to sign an insurance letter which is going to redirect that refund to the first lien holder. So, the homeowner's not going to get that refund. That refund is going to go to that first lien holder. That is known as an insurance letter. Number 7 on my list is known as a 4506T. 4506T is actually an IRS form, and it is authorization to release tax returns. Now, in the first list that I gave you, I said that a lot of lenders will request tax returns, and that is absolutely true. But in some cases, lenders don't trust the homeowner. They might suspect that the homeowner could make those tax returns on their home computer. And in those cases, the lender doesn't want to see what the homeowner comes up with. They want to see what was actually filed with the IRS. So in that case, they're not going to request tax returns. They're going to require request, I should say, a 4506T, which the homeowner is going to sign, and that is going to authorize the IRS to release copies of the tax returns that were actually filed directly to the lender. Number 8 on my list is known as a BAI, which stands for Borrower Acknowledgement of Interest. That is primarily a Bank of America form, and that is used in Bank of America's Streamlined Co-op short sale program. Number 9 on my list is known as a BEF, which stands for Borrower Election Form. And that form is something that the homeowner would sign, indicating that they're choosing to do a short sale rather than take advantage of other options that might be available, such as a deed in lieu or a loan modification. Number 10 on my list is known as a UBAF. And a UBAF stands for Uniform Borrower Assistance Form. This is very much like the financial worksheet that we talked about in the first list, but some lenders do actually want it on their own form. They want it more standardized. It's kind of like a balance sheet, if you will, money in versus money out. And number 11 on my list is known as an HAF, which stands for Homeowner Authorization Form. This is required in a Fannie Mae short sale. It is very much like a third-party authorization form. Now let's go back and look at some of these on the 2 lists in just a little bit more detail. I want to circle back first and talk about the hardship letter. So I gave you a pretty good idea when we did the list of what's in a hardship letter, but I want to circle back and say that a hardship letter needs to indicate, obviously, a real hardship. It needs to paint a pretty bleak picture, and obviously it needs to request the short sale, as I mentioned already. So if the homeowner drafts a hardship letter, and remember I said the agent can never do this, if the homeowner drafts a hardship letter and says, 3 months ago I lost my job, I had no income for a couple of months, but now I got a job again and I'm starting to get caught up on my bills, that's probably not a short sale. That sounds like a loan modification to me. So a hardship letter is most effective when it indicates little hope of catching up, thereby painting the short sale option as, probably the best option for the lender. And when you're trying to prove a hardship, if you can't control income, then you need to control expenses on that financial worksheet, okay? So again, what they're looking for is evidence that you don't have enough money to make that mortgage payment. If you do your financial worksheet and you have income of $5,000 a month and expenses of $2,000 a month, and your mortgage is $1,000 a month, why can't you make that payment, right? You've got $3,000 a month sitting there. Why can't you make that payment? So that's not going to work. And we need to indicate on the financial worksheet, we need to indicate expenses that illustrate we are unable to make the payment. So whatever those expenses are, if you've got really high car payments, or your insurances are high, or you've got healthcare costs, or whatever might be going on in your life that doesn't leave enough money at the end of the month to make that mortgage payment, that is a hardship. So let me say it again, and I'm giving you a big hint here. The financial worksheet is like a balance sheet: income, expenses. If you can't control the income, like maybe you're W-2'd as an example, and there's nothing you can do about that, then you need to control the expense side on that financial worksheet. Now, a little earlier, when we talked about providing bank statements to the lender, I said that you need to provide bank statements for all accounts, but there are some exceptions. Right now, I want to talk about those exceptions because you have some protections under federal law. There are some types of accounts that need not be disclosed, even to the point that if you sign a statement to the lender and says, I have disclosed all of my accounts and you have excluded the ones I'm about to tell you, you are okay. You have not misstated, you have not committed fraud of any sort, because there are certain types of accounts that are protected by federal law. Let's talk about what those are. Retirement asset protection started under ERISA. ERISA is E-R-I-S-A, and ERISA stands for Employee Retirement Income Security Act. If you go back to 1974, before many of you were born, I'm sure, 1974, there was a law passed known as ERISA, Employee Retirement Income Security Act. And that started to protect some people's retirement accounts, that in the event of a collection, in the event of some type of financial devastation, that somebody could protect their retirement income. So retirement asset protection started under ERISA, and then it improved later in 2005, so much later it improved, with something called BAPCPA. And BAPCPA stands for Bankruptcy Abuse Prevention and Consumer Protection Act. Well, that's a mouthful, right? So that in 2005 was added on to the ERISA from 1974 to provide even more protection for people. And this includes traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, SEP IRAs, simple IRAs, qualified plans, 403B plans, 457 plans, and also education savings accounts, ESAs. I know that's a lot. Let me go back through that list one more time. So, starting 2005, we had the BAPCPA law that was passed. It was an act of 2005, which added traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, SEP IRAs, simple IRAs, qualified plans, 403B plans, 457 plans, and education savings accounts. So check with your attorney, check with your accountant, make sure I'm giving you the full straight story here. But all of these are now protected, need not be disclosed, need not be shared with a short sale lender, because folks, if you share these plans voluntarily, then that money is now on the table, right? Why can't you make your mortgage payment if you've got X amount of money sitting in these accounts? So again, check with an attorney or check with an accountant to see if a particular type of retirement account qualifies to be exempted. I also want to circle back and talk about the cost of repairs. I mentioned that can be an informal statement. Anything that's wrong with the house, it needs a new stove or whatever, these things should be on your cost of repairs, painting the picture to the lender that they probably don't want to own this house. There's stuff wrong with it. When we talked about bank statements, I wanted to also add that when you send a bank statement to the short sale lender, it should include all pages, believe it or not, even the blank pages that nobody keeps. They want those blank pages as well. We talked about how pay stubs, tax returns, bank statements should be individually signed. I want to mention SB 321. And those of you who've been watching my videos in sequence, you probably know that SB stands for Senate Bill. So Senate Bill 321, which came about in 2013, by the way. And this bill was nicknamed the Nevada Homeowners Bill of Rights. So in Nevada, we tried to wake up the lenders a bit in a short sale situation. We tried to improve a little bit of consumer protection. And I don't think this bill really has a lot of teeth. I don't think it really accomplished a whole lot, in my opinion. Very different than AB 284, which did accomplish a whole lot. But let me tell you some of the components of the SB 321, the Nevada Homeowner Bill of Rights. The lender was supposed to respond faster, because some of you already know in a short sale situation, you can submit the short sale package to the lender and you could have a couple of birthdays before they respond. So SB 321 was trying to get them to respond quicker. Longer time for seller to send in documents without the risk of the file being closed out. Yeah, because sometimes you don't hear from the lender for weeks and weeks and weeks and decades, and then all of a sudden the lender responds and says, we need this thing from you in 48 hours or we're going to close out the file. Not really fair. So SB 321 tried to address that as well. SB 321 also provided for a 30-day communication requirement prior to the filing of a notice of default. And here's one more thing that I want to share with you about SB 321, and it does require a little bit of an explanation. So SB 321 said that here in Nevada, an arm's length affidavit is prohibited. So I just gave you a list, and I said that the arm's length affidavit is something that the lenders sometimes request. But now I'm telling you something that sounds prima facie, seems to be contradictory, that SB 321, which is now in effect 7 years as of the filming of this video, says that arm's length affidavits are prohibited. Let's get into that a little bit, because yes, here in Nevada, we passed a law that said the lender cannot require an arm's length affidavit, okay? But remember that a short sale is not something that the lender has to grant. The lender can say, no, we're not going to do the short sale. So guess how the lenders got around this rule? The lenders are requesting the homeowner to sign and the buyer also to sign the arm's length affidavit. And it says now, in the last 7 years, it said that you're not required to sign it. Well, guess what happens if you don't sign it? You already figured that out, right? The lender does not grant the short sale. So that is the way that they've gotten around SB 321 in Nevada. And when you're dealing with the lender, we don't want to come out and voluntarily tell them that this could be a second home or an investment property. We certainly never want to mention bankruptcy. If you threaten bankruptcy in a short sale, what you're doing is you're inducing the bank to speed up the foreclosure process, right? They're going to speed up the foreclosure because you're threatening bankruptcy, and you have a lot of protection under federal law with bankruptcy. So we don't want to mention a bankruptcy at all. And when all of this paperwork that we've been talking about has been complete, and it is up to the standards of that particular asset manager or negotiator at the bank, the next step for them is to order the BPO, the broker price opinion, or the appraisal. Some lenders actually do both of those things, but they both cost money. Of course, the appraisal costs a lot more than a BPO, which is why a lot of lenders do BPOs. But you're making progress in your short sale file. You know that all of the paperwork we've talked about in this segment of my video has been complete, is acceptable to the lender. when they go ahead and order that BPO and or appraisal. Let me say it another way. They're not going to order the BPO or appraisal until the paperwork is in order. So when that happens, you know you're making progress on your file. I would like to thank you for watching this video. I hope it was informative for you. If you are licensed with another brokerage in Southern Nevada and would like to talk with me, please text me or visit our website. See you next time.